First of all, of course, want to thank Mayor Edley for opening his doors to welcome us today as we introduce a piece of legislation which will allow all of us who are fighting the good fight to sustain not only the accreditation of Community College San Francisco, but to restore its enrollment and to stabilize its funding. All three pieces go together. So I'll be introducing a number of speakers in a few moments. Additionally to our speakers, we're very pleased to have the Superintendent of San Francisco Unified School District, Richard Carranza, is with us. We have the Community College's Deputy Chancellor, Eric Skinner, who is representing Chancellor Bice Harris. We have Community College of San Francisco Trustee Steve No and Community College of San Francisco Trustee Anita Greer, as well as Jenny Lam from Chinese for Affirmative Action, and I believe Elisa Messer may be with us as well from the local AFT2121. So again, we all know that there have been great challenges to our very beloved community college here in San Francisco as a result of the question of its accreditation. City College, I don't need to recount, of course, is a portal, sometimes the only portal, for an opportunity for higher education, a college degree, a certificate for workforce training. It's also one of San Francisco's largest employers. It's also a great customer to so many of San Francisco's small businesses. We must sustain our San Francisco Community College. And the news is good. Chancellor Bice Harris, of course, who is himself a former commissioner, is well aware of what needs to be accomplished to save this, I think in our opinion, most important campus and district of the entire 112, if I can be so bold to say districts in the entire state. So he has every incentive to make sure this job gets done, and I'm confident, and I've told everyone I know, that it will get done. So our challenge has been that in spite of the good news and the progress that we're making, that there are some who would otherwise enroll at community college in San Francisco who are not. And so we have to make sure that changes. We've lost about 16% of enrollment in the past year. That's not going to be sustainable. So the message is one of positive expectation. Accreditation will be sustained. The message is that everyone who wants to enroll should enroll, and that once you're enrolled, you're safe. We're going to see you through the entire process. No one's going to get dropped once they're in the system, and we have to stabilize funding, and that's the point of this bill, because without the stabilization of funding, what happens is what's known as a vicious cycle, a downward spiral. Students don't enroll, fewer dollars from the state because of the low enrollment. As a result, programs have to be closed down, faculty may have to be let off, and it gets smaller and smaller until we may not have our district any longer. So that's why we have to stabilize the funding. So what the bill does, very simply, is makes a relatively minor amendment to state law. Currently, there is a single year of funding stabilization in California statute. So, for example, in the 13-14 school year, the funding level is the same as 12-13, though enrollment is down a bit. So we're going to call 13-14 the base year of funding for Community College San Francisco. Going into 14-15, we'll stick with that base funding. Going into 15-16, the funding will be no less than 95% of the base year. The next year out, no less than 90% of the base year. And the last year out, 17-18, no less than 85% of base year funding. Now I say no less than because, of course, it's our hope by the time we get to some of the outer years, enrollment will be on the rise, and hopefully this will not be necessary. But it is a floor, it's a safety net, it's a baseline, so that we can continue to work to restore enrollment, to rebuild the school, and again, all through the process of sustaining accreditation. Now, what will trigger the use of this funding allowance is that there will be a significant risk to accreditation. So we know that that institution help them succeed.
And so the backdrop of this with our education leaders, our trustees, our special trustee here representing Bice Harris as well, the State Chancellor's office, as well as our own education leaders like Richard Carranza and others, and the teachers, the certified union that represents them, along with the individual elected trustees. We're here together to say that we're taking care of business. And this relationship that we're building here is not going to end because of the challenge to accreditation. We're actually winding the set, a relationship with the city and all of its education leaders and all of its financial leaders on a course that will continue to support City College forever, because that's what it deserves. And so, with Senator Leno's leadership on this stabilization, it is one huge pillar in an ongoing discussion about how do we make sure that the financial challenges that have been identified as part of the accreditation is taken care of. And we believe it is. And we don't want a self-fulfilling challenge to then say, because of low enrollment, then we've got another financial challenge. We're taking care of business the way it should be, the way people that we have lent to our city college, whether it's the controller's office or my own budget director, and the valuable time that they're giving to support Chancellor Tyler and the special trustee to make sure that everything is financially accountable. It is my more than hope. I'm essentially telling you, with Senator Leno's leadership here and with all of the leadership we have here, we're not going to fail. We're not going to allow City College to fail. We're not going to allow an accreditation challenge to turn into something that we can't manage here in the city. And in fact, I think that we have done now and evidenced this very solidly, all the things that we've done to date, particularly in the last year.
Can you clarify the part that you said you were going to amend the criteria that the special trustee be in place? Is that going to come out, or is it just, you're going to add to that? Can you clarify the amendment issue?
There's a line of copy, I can give you the chapter and verse if you like, that makes, it's the only place in the bill where there's reference to special trustee. It will be amended out.
Amended out.
In its place, amended in, will be after a conference of stakeholders to come up with a accountability standard that will be significant enough to reflect well in the eyes of the administration and the Department of Finance.
Can we take that as a sign that the special trustee may indeed be leaving soon? There's been some controversy over his decision to continue City College's relationship with Wells Fargo, as well as a few other decisions. What was the concern around that part?
So, given that my name is on the front of the bill as its author, I have to take full responsibility for the fact that special trustee is in the bill right now. But the reason that I believe and my sponsor believes that it should not be in the bill is because it attracts all the kinds of questions that you're suggesting be asked. This is not about the special trustee. The special trustee was placed there by Chancellor Harris, and I believe will be there as long as the Chancellor believes Mr. Grillo needs to be in that position. I'm not here to comment on that with regard to the funding stabilization. It was there for the purpose of identifying an accountability standard. We will replace it with one that will not attract unnecessary debate and attention, because this is about funding stabilization.
To ensure that we deal with at City College of San Francisco and that we support the college. They're very separate issues. So it makes sense that the Department of Finance and others would want to ensure that they find a way to address that we continue to make progress on the fiscal controls, that employees get paid on time, and all kinds of other things happen as they should at City College of San Francisco. We think that can happen. We want to make sure that that happens. But we don't want it to be tied to helping shore this college up in terms of its enrollment and its funding over the next several years.
So what about the announcement of some churches are maybe overpaid in CCSF system?
That's an excellent example of the kind of problem we have when we lose our elected leaders and there's no transparency. So right now, it has recently come to light that under this special trustee who has sole control of approving board actions, he acts as the board but does not hold board meetings. Under his supervision, it's come to light that the college has been paying people off schedule and has paid people without noticing the public and without any public discussion, and that they've given people salaries that are beyond the public schedules.
Was it not agendized?
It was not agendized. That information was not agendized until we found out about it 2 weeks ago, when it was agendized for a special board meeting.
So do you think that appointed trustees should be removed? And also, they said here that they want the students to continue to pay more money or pay back payments, and that they're going to go after the students. What do you think about the state of working class students trying to get an education and the increasing cost of the price of an education?
Well, obviously the price of community college education and all higher education has gone up exponentially. There are some articles that have come out from a study recently that showed that some of those costs appear to not be going to improving education, but appear to be going to a doubling of administrators and other management professionals at all of higher education. So this is something we're facing in California, it's something we're facing across the nation, and it's certainly something that at City College of San Francisco we have done all that we can, and we want to continue to do all that we can to make it an accessible and affordable community college for everyone. There are some big questions about the implementation of the student payment plan and how that has impacted students. It's something that we're looking at, all students, also undocumented students, and it's something that we want to see addressed.
Well, they said they don't have the money here in California to lower the cost or even have free education. What do you think about that?
Well, we know that the money is here. It's a matter of priorities, and we need to see California in general, the whole country, reprioritize towards education, towards supporting working people, and that revenue should be coming from the rich. There is a lot of wealth in this country. There's a lot of wealth in this city and this state, and it should be coming for the people who need it from the people who have far too much of it.
I'm sorry, could you just reiterate what your thoughts were about this bill?
About the bill? So we are very glad to see a proposal that would address City College's ongoing and what looks like some medium-term fiscal issues because of the sanctions from the ACCJC, the unwarranted and, in our view, illegal sanctions from the ACCJC. So that's fantastic, and we look forward to being able to support that process and standing shoulder to shoulder, everyone in San Francisco standing shoulder to shoulder to support that bill. Right now, the bill, as you heard the Senator say, also has some language regarding the special trustee. We would like to see that language gone. We heard a commitment from Senator Leno to remove that language and to find something that's suitable to all stakeholders so that everyone is at the table talking about what we need to do to address City College of San Francisco's issues and the accreditation issue.
In terms of the current requirement for students to pay their fees, that's always been the case. And that's been one of the challenges that this institution has had. We can't give a gift of public funds. And I've said this publicly, I wish community college tuition was free. Okay? I wish we didn't have any fees, but that's not the case. We can't sustain ourselves. At the current time, I think we had something like $4.5 million worth of receivables from students. That money should be coming from students to help fund additional programs and pay for additional classes. And we need to collect that money from the students. But there are also lots of dollars that go unused, both our scholarship fund as well as in our tuition reimbursements that can come through the state as well as through the federal side.
I'm president of the City College Academic Senate. Many thanks to everyone here for their hard work and their remarks. This legislation is important not only for the continued stability of City College, but also for the morale of everyone connected to the college, its entire community. Because of the college's capacity as one of the primary workforce training providers, it will benefit the city as well as the entire region. We educate the proletariat, and we think that's dynamite.
7 salary schedule. They wanted to take 5% off of it. It's 4% off through union negotiations, 3.5% next year, but that's 2007 salaries. I look at my paycheck, it's decimated. You know, and of course, we love the students and we want to support the students, but with faculty, we're going to lose. We are already losing good faculty who cannot afford to work at City College anymore because of what they've done to our salaries.
So this downsizing of salaries of faculty, you're saying, is having a harmful effect really on even the education process and students?
Yes, the classrooms are still good. What we have going on are still good, but we're not going to be able to attract the best faculty in the future if this continues. You know, right now we're all committed to staying. I said some young people have had to leave, you know, because they can't afford it.
And the appointed trustee seems to have extra money for the executives. What do you think about that?
I think it's a scandal. It's a huge scandal. Our Prop A money, our Prop 30 money is going to administration. It's not going to the classroom where it was intended.
Do you think this has anything to do with privatization of public universities?
Yes, I do think that's definitely a factor. The for-profit colleges have their hand in this also.
And the chancellor at the community colleges says he still wants to get the students to pay back all this money, and that's a priority. With California awash in money, billions and billions of dollars, you think it's a little incongruous that they're going after working class students? The proletarian, as your academic Senate president said, when there's so much money in San Francisco and California?
I absolutely do. And I would like to hold the chancellor to his statement that he thought the community colleges should be free. So do I.
Where's the money?
It's in the hands of very wealthy people who are not paying their fair share of taxes.
Well, Governor Brown has said that he doesn't want any more taxes. There's no oil depletion tax that could go for education. Do you think there's money in California for free education in public universities?
I absolutely do, and we have a movement that's making that happen. We wouldn't have had Prop 30 if it hadn't been for that movement, and that movement is known as Occupy. I'll be very honest.
And this concession bargaining that's going on in the unions, basically giving up. Do you think this is a harmful process for labor? I mean, for education? I mean, I understand the purpose of it was to save community college, to protect the students, but it seems like the end result is you're going to lose faculty and it's going to harm the education process.
You know, I don't want to criticize our union because they worked very, very hard for this contract. It's not a great contract. They know that. We know that. We've just got to organize better.
And how do the faculty feel about it?
Obviously not. We voted for it. 82% voted for it. We had to vote for it. We needed to get it out of the way. But, you know, we'll come back next year, and it'll be a different landscape.
You talked about this institution, City College, being an institution for working class, proletarian students. I mean,
well, it's many. I mean, it's that among many other things.
And first of all, you think that this is going to help? This bill will help?
Well, it provides stability funding, and without this bill, one very likely outcome is that we will continue to get fewer and fewer students each year, thus serving. It's as you refer to it as the downward spiral. The fewer students you get, very likely the fewer you'll get in the next year, and so forth. With the stability funding, we won't have to cut classes. We hope we won't have to cut classes or programs. We can continue to hold our offerings, and with a good marketing campaign, we can rebuild our student base back up to the 100,000 that it once was.
Now, a number of faculty have said as a result of pay reductions, salary reductions, you're actually having a problem getting faculty who can't survive on the salaries at City College. Is that a concern to you?
Yes. Both personally and for my fellow colleagues. This is one of the most expensive places to live in the entire country, and our salaries do not reflect that.
Have they been going down?
Well, we were for a while we were being paid. Okay, correct me if I get this wrong. 5% less than our 2007 salaries, and then last academic year we took a 4.5%. I think an additional 4.5% reduction on top of the 5%, but we incurred it in the course of only one semester instead of two, so it looked like a 12 to 13% reduction on our 2007 salaries. It's been vicious.
Now, the Chancellor said that he wants to continue to go after students who owe money to the university, and said he is for college, and he says he's for free education, but do you see any going after the billions of dollars of surplus that California has, I mean, and the wealth in California?
Yeah, as a member not only of the local Senate, but of the statewide academic Senate, which is on record, I believe, as favoring no student fees for the community college education. Yes, I agree with the Chancellor on that. I'm not as well versed in the issues that were underlying having to make the students pay up front. It does seem to me as we could have arranged something somewhat less draconian than that particular measure.
May I ask you, first of all, do you think the bill has a chance of success in the legislature?
I always believe that when I introduce a bill, and I mean it sincerely. It's going to be a challenge. A 2/3 threshold is never something to take for granted, but I believe that we can do it.
And the Chancellor said he would like free education in public colleges in California, yet it seems like there's no bills, for example, an oil depletion tax or other bills on the very wealthy and the oil companies to pay for free public education. What are the prospects of getting free public education in California for the colleges and universities?
Sure. Well, I, as a co-author of the oil severance tax, recognize that California is the only state among 23 states which produces oil which does not have an oil severance tax, meaning if you, for-profit oil company, take a natural resource out of the ground, you're going to give a small part back to the commonweal for the benefit of all. And the proposal is that we could use some of that money for higher education. Of course, in a perfect world, we could reduce the cost to negligible. That may not happen immediately, but every bit of additional revenue that we put into place, I'd like to see it be able to lower the cost of higher education, because it should be everyone's right to pursue that hope and dream and aspiration.
And that would raise billions of dollars if there was an oil depletion tax in California?
I believe that the current proposal, which I'm co-authoring, is set at 10%, and it would be worth about $2 billion annually.
And that could go to lower the fees and costs of California students to go to college?
It certainly could.
And is that a bill in the legislature?
Yes, the lead author is Senator Noreen Evans from Santa Rosa, and there may even be conversations about it in the budget. We shall see, but it's certainly an idea that I believe, whose time has come.